Which does more damage, a longsword or a rapier? The longsword does a d8 damage and the rapier only a d6, but the rapier has the deadly trait. Is this enough to make it a better weapon? Let's find out together as we review how to compare weapon damages in 2 easy steps. I'm your host, Crunch McDabbles. Let's crunch some numbers. Okay, the first thing we need to do to calculate weapon damage is to learn how to find the average damage on a die roll. Let's take the longsword for example. It does a d8 damage. Since each number on the dice has an equal chance of coming up, we can find the average by adding up each possibility. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 for a total of 36. Then we divide that number by the number of sides on the dice. In this case 8. We get an average weapon damage of 4.5 for a longsword, or for any other d8 roll. The average damages for all the dice are pretty easy to remember. It's the middle number plus 0.5. For a d4, the average is 2.5. For a d6, it's 3.5. The d8 we did, that was 4.5. The d10 is 5.5. And the d12, can you guess it? See the pattern? 6.5. Awesome. So just based on average damages for the die roll, the longsword is just a little better than the rapier, 1 point on average. But how do we factor in the extra critical damage on a critical hit that the rapier does because it's a deadly weapon? To really compare damages, we will need to make a hit array. Basically, a hit array is just a box that shows what will happen on each possible roll on the d20, kind of like the weapon damages we did in step 1. So we make a list of each number that can come up on a d20, 1 through 20, and make it into a column. We'll also need to gather just a little bit of information. First, we need to know the target armor class. If you don't know specifically what monster you're attacking, you could just choose a likely armor class based on your level, or even choose your own armor class since you are your own level. We'll use armor class 18 for this comparison. We will need to know our bonus to hit. Usually this is your training bonus plus your ability stat bonus. In this case we'll say we're level 1 and we're trained with the longsword for a plus 3 bonus. And we'll say we have an 18 strength for a plus 4 bonus for a total of plus 7 to hit. Then we need to know our average damage we calculated in step 1. For the d8 longsword it was 4.5, but we also add our strength bonus of plus 4 for a total of 8.5 average damage we'll do on each hit. Finally, we would need to know any relevant bonuses or penalties. For the longsword on one swing we don't have any, so we leave that blank. Next we make a column where we add our die roll plus our bonus to hit. So on 1 on the dice plus our plus 7 bonus to hit equals 8, and that's a miss. We continue down for each possible roll on the d20, and we see that once we roll an 11 plus our bonus to hit, we meet our target AC of 18. So these are hits. We mark them green. Also, the 20 is a critical hit, so we mark that as red. Finally, we make a third column with our average weapon damage based on the result of each roll. All of the misses get zeros, all of the hits get 8.5, and the critical hit gets 17 for double the average. Then we total all of this possible damage. The zeros are easy to add, but then add in 9 8.5s and 1 17 for a total of 93.5 damage. Then we divide that number by 20 to represent each of the equal possible rolls on the d20. You end up with 4.7. So the longsword with these bonuses and against this armor class does 4.7 average damage per hit. Now we can compare that with the rapier using the same conditions. The rapier. We'll keep the target AC at 18. Our ability bonus and training level stays the same at plus 7. We change our average damage down from 4.5 down to 3.5 for the rapier's d6 damage, plus our same strength damage of 4 for a total of 7.5 damage per hit. Also, we need to add in the rapier's deadly quality on critical hits, so we will add in an extra d8 damage. That's an average of 4.5 damage, so we add that in on a critical hit. Our hit chart stays the same. We continue to start hitting at 11. But our damage column is a little different. We get 7.5 average damage per hit, but we get double that on a critical hit plus another 4.5 for a total of 19.5 damage on a critical hit. Then we total all the damage and divide by 20 to get our average damage. The rapier does 4.35 average damage per hit. The longsword did 4.7 per hit, so the rapier is just a little behind, the difference of 0.35 damage per hit. So they are pretty close, but the longsword's a little better. So now, just for fun, let's do a little extra credit. Let's say our target only has a 15 AC, and let's also say that we are a fighter, so we are expertly trained with both the longsword and a rapier. That brings our bonus to hit up to +9. Our damages stay the same, but we hit much more often. Now we are hitting on a die roll of 6 and crit hitting on a die roll of 16 because we beat the target AC by 10. The longsword swings in at an average of 8.5 damage per swing, which is devastating. But the rapier now does 8.7 per swing. That's 0.2 better. Not much, but in the right hands and against the right enemy, a deadly weapon can be, well, deadly, even though it has a lower damage dice. So remember, kids, Crunch McDabbles always says, a higher 2-hit and a lower target AC mean more damage with deadly weapons. So don't forget to flank monsters and always thank your cleric for casting Bless around you, because that bonus increases your chance to hit and your chance to critical hit.